I bought the most expensive 250 dirt bike at Walmart
because it was just over $2,000 and looked a lot like a more expensive factory bike. The ratings weren't great, but curiosity got the best of me, so let's see if this bike is any good.
And this is what you get, the Motec X5, and I'm already a little concerned. At Walmart, it says 250 black, which I ordered the green, and we've got 223 cc's? That's closer to 200 than it is to 250 realistically. But I'm way too excited about this one to keep jambling on about that, so let's pop it open and see what we got.
The box is still in one piece, which is great. That's not normal for this kind of thing.
Looks like a big trash bag so far, but at least it's big. Because my other Motecs are way too small for someone who's 6 feet tall. Maybe they're great for kids, but we'll do a video comparing all of them once we get this set up. The frame is actually in immaculate shape. They don't normally come that good. We've got our goodie box here. Let's dig into this thing. If you aren't familiar with these, one, they never come on these cheap of dirt bikes, but they're also really good for off-road because there's basically a piece of plastic in here that as you tighten down this, it pinches the side of the rubber to the outside of your wheel. So that way you can run a really low tire pressure and it won't spin your tube and destroy your tube. Let's say you pop your tube entirely, that rim lock will keep your tire locked in so you like hit your brakes and it won't just spin around your wheel, right? We've only seen one thing and it's better than expected, so let's keep that up, huh?
And keep it up we did. This front tire is a full 21 inch, which comes standard on larger bikes. That's gonna make it easy to roll over obstacles, especially off-road.
This side did actually get pretty damaged in shipping, but it's really only attached in the front and the rear. So I'm not expecting for the bike itself to be damaged at all, which ultimately is all that really matters. Time to get our first real look at this thing. This is my favorite part, but also the most nerve-wracking part. I'm not sponsored by these companies. I don't get these bikes for free. I am wasting my real money on Walmart dirt bikes for you guys. For entertainment. I mean, it's not the right color, but I wouldn't call it a waste. It looks pretty nice. Comfy seat. The frame looks a lot like the X Pro. First impressions are not bad with this one. We might have something half useful. The fork tubes have a good diameter, so that means they're hopefully very strong. Our exhaust looks just fine. Real muffler. It's looking a lot like the cheapest 250. The plastics look good, the design looks good. Let's see what the quality of the material feels like. Sometimes it's the kind of sticker that just rubs off immediately. That kind of feels like it'll take the occasional boot scuff and dirt rubbed on, hit a tree branch. Thick rotors. The brakes look good. 2118, proper moto setup. Airbox, huge improvement from just a little pod filter. Carburetor, electric start, easy access. Again, we won't know until we drive it, but it's looking pretty nice. Now I splurged and got myself a little something here. Motorcycle jack. This should make my videos a lot easier to make.
I plan on unboxing and testing a whole lot more motorcycles for you guys, and doing it by myself, this part of the process is quite difficult. So I think this jack from Harbor Freight is really gonna make my life so much easier.
A lot of times on these budget dirt bikes, the handlebars will just be the flattest, simplest, worst pieces of trash, which is a bummer because it's the only thing you're really touching directly on a dirt bike. So it's like having a cheap steering wheel on a car, you know, it makes the whole thing feel cheap even if it's a good car. But the X5 is full extreme and the most expensive 250 on Walmart. So maybe this one's built different. I mean, they're aluminum, not steel. It's a good start.
These handlebars feel exactly about what you're gonna get with any of the other bikes in this price range, maybe a little lighter, which is fine and great as long as they hold up to some serious riding that we're gonna do later in the video. I unbolted the front fork, slid in the new jack. Let's see how this goes.
It was definitely a little easier than trying to lift it up and put it on a jack stand by myself, but either way, I guess I need to lift it off the steel thing underneath it. If you guys can think of a better way for me to do that by myself, please let me know below. I'm really looking just for an easier way to do it. I'm sure I'm just not thinking about this clearly, but let me know that and make sure you subscribe. I did not forget about buying the most expensive side-by-side on Amazon for 100K, and it's gonna get even crazier at 200K. So subscribe to see both of those. I'm gonna get the trash out of here, charge up my batteries, come back tomorrow and get this thing finished. I have been buying so many cheap motorcycles. The pallets are really starting to add up, but unfortunately, it's taken me this long to realize that I've been buying cheap shavers too. Manscaped actually reached out and wanted to sponsor this video. I told them if I liked it, I would do it. In my unboxing videos, I'm always telling you guys the quality of the packaging is often a reflection of the quality of the product. First of all, look how that gold line matches perfectly. The beard hedger handle has this nice textured handle, and you can switch your settings with this easy turn. Both shavers charge with USB-C, so no need to bring anything else with you when you travel. And speaking of traveling, this one has a lock, so it won't just start going off in your bag. And the Lawnmower 5.0 has this dual blade system. You can see like the built-in suspension in it. What I'm gonna say about the lawnmower is I really wish that I would have bought this the first time I saw a Manscaped ad. And if you use code EDWINO, you get 20% off this whole bundle and free international shipping. That's manscaped.com/EdwinO and use code EDWINO for 20% off. We are back, ready to finish building this thing. The first thing I'm going to do is find the battery and get that charged. So when we're ready to rip, we are ready to rip. Now under here is gonna be our air box, so I'm thinking it's under the seat. There she blows. It's your standard issue. Well, battery there. This one did not come fully charged, which is the norm. My only bike that did come fully charged was the Walmart quad, and that was just a fluke, I guess, because they never do, so something to remember. Next up, let's do handlebars. For me, that just makes everything else a little easier. To do that, we're going to need to get into the goodie box, because you never know what you're gonna get. Everything we need right there, some grease for all of the axles and suspension components, and a manual. Let's see, it's supposed to be like some foam padding, and I am not sure about that. That's our breather line for on top of our gas tank, and some zip ties. For me, it seems like fewer and fewer bikes are coming with those little toolkits, and that is just fine by me because pretty miserable to set up a bike with tools like that anyways. So these handlebars are not steel. I'm not sure what kind of alloy they are, but that's a slight upgrade over the norm. I always forget to take my own advice, but today we are doing it. I always find it easier to put on the fender before the front wheel. And I always forget. You could imagine right now that if this front wheel was already here, I'd be having a super hard time fitting in the tools and getting in the fender. Just for some reason, I get excited. I want it on its own tires first, and then I regret it later. But hey, this time I finally remembered to do it in the correct order, and I'm going to make a habit out of this. But see, on a factory bike, it would just go straight into the triple clamp. But I wouldn't really know. It's just been a very long time since I've worked on a factory bike. I had a YZ250F.
sold that when I got my first Sur-on because I was having so much fun just wheeling around town, right through police officers, no one cared. And then last summer, I was just roaming around on one of my little razor bikes, not doing any reckless driving, wheelies, 5 miles an hour on the side of the road, got a ticket. I was just wrong place, wrong time. But it got me thinking, what if I was doing wheelies at like 60 miles an hour on my Sur-on in like a 35 like I normally do? How much trouble would I get in? Would I lose my license? Like, I don't know. So recently I've taken an interest in bikes that are street legal. I'll still hoon around on them for sure, but at least just the simple act of riding it around normally isn't illegal on something like that. Heck yeah. Man, this thing is awesome. I have no idea why I didn't get one sooner. That axle nut I'd normally grease, but honestly, it came pretty dang greasy from the factory, so we're just gonna call that good. For some reason, I'm just such a child around dirt bikes. I have to grab the brake levers and twist the throttle, so when you do that before you install your brakes, it makes it a lot harder to fit the brake pads over the rotor, and that's exactly what I did here. Every time. Something that these bikes tend to get right is solid brakes and rotors. Pretty thick, pretty beefy, last quite a while actually, but they come with the worst brake pads every time. And this battery is already charged, so I really think that would have worked out just fine, but better safe than sorry, right? I think we have to do the rear linkage, number plates, side plates, and we're done. So this is my number plate. The brake line goes through here, and this mechanism is just the worst. Phillips on that side, 10 mil on this side, and then a clip that you can't take off without taking that off to get in there. For me, that's a 2 out of 10. And yes, it was just as bad as I thought it was going to be. This is something that could be done a million other ways, so much easier, but the way that it is just a frustrating mess and takes way longer than it should. First of all, this plastic was already cracked because obviously that pushes in at a weird angle and isn't supported. I really wonder what's on the inside of my other bikes. So this one is just, you just bend that and fold it over, but there's not much travel, so not a big deal. A lot of them just don't have it at all, which is perfectly fine. And the cheapest dirt bike at Walmart, but it clips in this side and has one screw holding that side in. And that makes a lot more sense. Why overcomplicate things? Doesn't make it any stronger. It actually literally makes it weaker because it came cracked. I found another one of those little silly things that bother me about these bikes. So here it's obviously intended to go in that hole built into the triple clamp. But instead, they make this a centimeter shorter, and you have this bracket with 3 extra unnecessary bolts just to bolt that on there instead of there. To me, I see that and it's like, okay, that costs more money. You need to have your guys on the assembly line do more bolts, more weight, 0 reward. You could have just put the plastic tab a centimeter higher, done. Does it really matter? No. Could anyone actually tell the difference of that weight? No. The rest of the front brake line management was just fine, totally normal, so I switched gears to the triangle in the rear. Let's wire it up, see if she cranks. This bike is scoring some Edwin point because it has the kind of nut that just sits in the battery. And so you only need one tool to remove it on trail if you had some kind of an issue. Which to me, that's the most important thing. I love these budget bikes and I love riding underpowered bikes. It's just so much more fun to drive a slow thing fast than a fast thing slow. But if it's so cheap that it leaves you stranded in the middle of nowhere, it's not fun anymore. So these little things to make your life a little easier and to make trail fixes with simple tools more realistic, I am all for it.
The seat's pretty normal, feels pretty good. Time for the final look, our last aesthetic change. Now, even though these bikes aren't liquid cooled and have radiators, these normally do still stick out quite a bit.
I reattached the seat prematurely here, so I had to remove it so I could put on these side pieces, but they went pretty easy and they feel very secure. It's always so annoying when these things vibrate after riding for like 20 minutes, but these ones I think will last the test of time and stay strong.
I do know that it's my favorite time of these builds though. Ha ha ha. You always get that taken care of before you put the seat on. Now for this little piece, it's the same radius as the handlebars. So there it is. It just holds this on. There's nothing else keeping it back.
This is the first time I see something like this, and what I don't like about it is every single time you'd need to adjust your handlebars, you would need to cut these zip ties and put fresh zip ties on. Normally, it's just a little thin piece of plastic with Velcro on it that you wrap around the bars, so that way you can easily remove the foam, adjust what you need to adjust, and just Velcro it back on. But that's not the case with this one.
For the first time ever, we are about to see the X5 on its own 2 tires. Will the geometry make sense? Or will it make us want to die? Because some of these bikes are raked so far forward, it just makes no sense. The rear brake won't go down all the way, it hits frame. But we have adjustment in this tie rod here. The front brake feels fine. The front feels a little soft. The rear is definitely a bit stiffer, but it does have dampening. You can see here and here, you've got welded nuts and a bracket for a skid plate. That was not included. Maybe there's a different version of the bike that includes it. And then we've got our drain plug here, concealed by the frame a bit. Probably gonna be one of those ones with a spring-loaded filter behind it, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a bit annoying.
And the last thing on the to-do list, oil change. Now this drain plug is in a miserable location. It's so hard to get anything in there, and it's a massive size, so I didn't actually have a socket that fits it. And the spring boings out as soon as you open it, and there's not really enough room to get the spring and the cap out at the same time with the frame in the way. So it's just really annoying, and even in the manual it says that there's a drain plug. I checked a bunch of times and there just isn't directly on the bottom of the case. So this side case with the filter is all we got, so that's what we're stuck with.
It's official, we have been scammed. According to the VIN number and this manual, we have the K5223, which is not only the lowest specification model in here, you guys can pause the video if you want to read all that, but the manufacturer does indeed make mini 250s, and this is not one of them. That's so silly, I don't get it. Percentage-wise, that's a significant amount of power. I'm gonna put in some new oil, we'll start it up, and we'll have fun with it, but that is lame. I adjusted out the brake. Now we get touching pads way before we touch frame over here. Chain seems tight enough. Took over half a quart. That's what oil's supposed to smell like. Now we're ready to get some fuel in this thing and test it out. Let's see what she sounds like.
The bike was not wanting to idle right, so I adjusted the idle screw and rode around in the parking lot a bit and then got this thing just dialed. Something I like about this bike is you don't need to pull in the front brake to start it like some of the other ones. Honestly, doesn't sound bad. Seemed like it had pretty good power. The clutch needed some adjustment, throttle needed some adjustment. Still think the brakes need a tad of adjustment, but let's get out on the trails and see what she can really do, because going back and forth in the parking lot, I mean, anything can feel powerful doing that, right? The real test will be taking it outside. So let's go and do that. I'm really excited for this one. This might be one of the better cheap bikes that I've bought and reviewed on this channel. The bike looks and sounds great, but what I really care about is the suspension setup, the power, and the reliability. So let's put this thing to the test. This one I think is probably the best piece of trash I've ever bought though.
I mean, it doesn't look that terrible.
Maybe it wants a little choke. Have you seen this on the cheaper bikes? The finger choke?
No.
It's so annoying. And how that's more expensive than just putting a choke on the carb. How would that possibly be cheaper than putting a choke on the carb? Huh. So you need to sit here while your bike warms up. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if this thing can make it up this big hill climb.
Yeah.
I bet it can.
I bet it can.
Yeah, we'll see about that later. But first off, let's just get on the track and see what the suspension feels like at speed. The shifts are a little sticky, but we're just wearing it in. The suspension feels way better than the other Walmart bike. Holy smokes. You gotta keep it pretty high in the RPMs. I got a lot of comments on the channel. People being like, shift, man, shift. And it's like, hey, these cheap bikes have nothing down low. I gotta keep it up in there. This thing rocks, man.
It smells like a new bike.
It's great.
Yeah.
It totally rocks. These cheap bikes never had the suspension set up this good, and I didn't even change anything. Those weren't big whoops, but I wasn't bottoming out.
Straight for the big hill climb, huh?
I think if I just cut it into third, I got it.
All right.
I might need to downshift to second halfway, but I mean, this is a good way to break in a brand new engine, right?
Yeah, it is.
Man, these gears are short. Oh my God. That was a lot more ruddy than I thought. There's third. Oh. I don't know if she's got it where it counts. Ah! Dang. So close.
You got stopped in the same place every time.
Yeah, it's just
All she's gonna do for you, huh?
in the clutch, I think needs some breaking in because it's either fully engaged or fully disengaged.
Yeah, it's just
And that's my only chance of doing something like that with this much power.
right. Yeah, just
Yeah. Are those elk or deer? Those are elk. If you're not from this area, just know that elk and moose are something that you don't want to get close to. So I thought pinning it in second gear would probably get rid of them. And I felt like I was doing great and this bike was just amazing. And then I saw what it looked like from the third person view. And it's just like, yeah, nah. She is definitely slow, definitely underpowered. This is just wide open in second, trying to feather the clutch, getting any last smidgen of power I can. And I mean, it made it, so that's something.
see already the clutch is letting me feather it a little bit though.
Nice.
Honestly, for a little trail rider, this thing kills it. And I want to say the way it's set up is a lot better than the X Pro, the cheapest Walmart bike. It is definitely softer in the front than the rear, but it's not that big of a deal. And see, still has enough power to pop up a little wheelie on something like that. Our first bottom out right there. Very impressed with the suspension for the price. I'd say of the 4 250s I have, this is the best feeling suspension. I've still yet to do the video on the 4th, but yeah, this is great. Well, that slipped out of gear on its own. Let's see if I can't get this thing to wheelie properly. It's just hard to get that initial pop on this bike. Hey, we're figuring it out, man. Every bike's wheeliable, you just gotta really finesse it if it's low on power.
One of the hardest parts about making these reviews is just, I have so much fun when I'm on a dirt bike. I've never not had fun on a dirt bike, so no matter how bad it is, I mean, look at where I am. Look at what I'm doing. It's just amazing. So definitely take everything I say with a grain of salt.
And it sounds decent. Sometimes these cheap bikes lose the packing on the exhaust after like 10 minutes of riding. We've been going pretty hard for hours, and it's kept the same note. It's a good sign for the longevity of the muffler. Let's see that pivot turn.
What did I do wrong, Coach?
Oh, I think you just let off the clutch a little too fast.
Okay.
I think that's why it stalled. That's the right idea. You just need to get the front end further up so it's lighter.
Scary,
Yeah, but that first bit, I mean, that was it.
yeah.
I don't even know if I can do it with this bike. I guess I can. Let's see. I'll try that again. Hey, I mean, a lot of that failure is just because of skill. I've been getting lazy on electric bikes. Hey! Yeah! I'm getting my clutch feeling. And it's something that I really do think is more important on low power bikes. Like Stark Vargs don't have clutches, but you just give it more throttle, like if you need to get the front end up on the last second or something like that. But without the power, if you want to get the front end up to get over a log on a bit of single track, like, it's a big deal to have a clutch with good clutch feel. And at first this thing was a light switch, but now that it's breaking in, and maybe I'm just getting used to the bike, it's getting a lot easier to ride. And this sandy terrain robs power. But I think that's why it's such a good place to test these bikes, because, you know, in a short amount of time, I can really put them through the ringer. See if they're worth it or not. Not without the clutch. Perfect example right here. I mean, everything's pretty normal. It's just gutless, but the brakes work good, so it's safe. Jane just lightened it up. Oh man. Factory bike suspension though is a whole different universe. It's so stiff except for when you don't want it to be. It's just such a good thing. Wow. You want to trade?
It's fine, but the brakes are very short lever. It's a very short throw.
And it just, when it hits, it grabs.
On. It's a tiny little bike. It feels like it'd be better on a road and dirt roads. That's what it feels like it should be on.
It's not a high performance machine.
No. But it, honestly, as a grocery getter for like dirt roads or like living out in the country and getting near mail, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Just ripping around your property.
Yeah. As long as it held up.
So after a hard day of riding, the only real damage was to my rotor. These brake pads just wear out so quick. So if you are going to buy this bike, look up the best pads you can get for it and just get those straight away. But it never seemed to overheat. It always ran great, always idled great. I mean, this is a pretty sick bike for the price. I think my recommendation is always going to be, you can't beat a used Honda. If you put this much money into a used Honda, you're probably better off. But I love testing out these bikes, and I definitely think that this is one of the best I've done a video on so far.
So the X5 has no problem getting the front end up on pavement. You just need a little traction, but this isn't the road legal one. The cheapest 250 at Walmart is actually the road legal one. The forks look exactly the same. The frame looks exactly the same. The muffler's exactly the same. I think the difference is in the plastics, maybe the engine, and definitely the rear shock. So I'm going to need to do a video comparing the two, cheapest versus most expensive Walmart 250s. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe, and don't forget that on grindhardplumbingco.com we are giving away an Electro & Co RTR and a 1-ton Cummins. Mad thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. We got that great discount down for you below, and thanks for watching.